interested in simple steps to heal the root cause of your health issues, whether it's anxiety, depression, insomnia, weight gain, hormonal issues, digestive issues, or any difficult to treat condition, welcome to Heal Your Body, Cure Your Mind, where you'll get most of the answers for your health concerns and benefit from the latest techniques in naturopathic medicine, functional medicine, and psychotherapy to heal your mind and body together. As a naturopathic doctor, psychotherapist, and best-selling author, I've also created a free ebook and online course for you at drameet.com. That's drameet.com, where you'll get tons of tips to heal your mind, your body, your emotions, your gut, your liver, inflammation, and other things that go wrong in your body. Without further ado, with lots of love to your beautiful heart, here's your podcast for this week.
Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining me for the Mind, Body and the Vagus Nerve Connection Summit. I'm your host, Dr. Eva, and my guest for this session is Dr. Ameet Aggarwal. Dr. Ameet has helped thousands of people with mental and physical health conditions by combining naturopathic medicine, psychotherapy, and family constellations therapy. His online program is the only online program approved by both the Commissions of Dietetic Registrants and by Naturopathic Professional Association for Naturopaths, Nutritionists, and Dietitians. Born in Kenya, Dr. Ameet started mobile clinics for poor communities through his charity Fem Africa and loves to support communities with your help when you buy his online course and book from his site health.drameet.com. So Dr. Ameet, welcome to the summit.
Thank you.
Well, I'm excited for this conversation. We're going to talk about something that I think not many people would have expected to see on this summit. We're going to talk about homeopathy and how we can utilize homeopathy to treat not just the vagus nerve, but various related aspects of our health and healing that still connect obviously to the vagus nerve, because everything is connected to everything else, right? But we will look at it from a few different angles. And so let's actually start, before we get into the subject. You obviously originally from Kenya and you run your mobile clinics there and you utilize homeopathy in those mobile clinics. So tell us a little bit about that first.
Okay, so I started mobile clinics a long time ago when I graduated from Canada. And then I wrote a book and an online course to help me fund these mobile clinics. And so whenever I have enough sales, book sales and online course sales, I go back into the bush. The areas I treat with the mobile clinics are extremely poor. And a lot of the people are nomadic, like they're not there all the time. So I sit under a tree and I take the case and then I prescribe these homeopathic medicines to the people. And why I love homeopathy is because it helps to treat the root cause. Number two, you need very little of the medicine to have a long-term effect, and to have a very deep effect. And so a lot of people in the communities are telling me that, Dr. Ameet, your medicines are a bit different, because they don't know the difference between homeopathy and normal medicine. All look like little tablets. And they're like, a lot of long-term problems, a lot of difficult cases are going away. But we only have one problem with you. You're giving too little medicines. Because they want a large amount or they want an injection, right? Because the stronger the medicine, they think the more powerful and better. But they're liking it. So I'll sit under a tree. Usually it's the Maasai community, sometimes the Samburu community. And I'll take their case. I used to have volunteers from around the world and I'd supervise them and would treat together.
That is amazing because you're going back to your roots and you're giving back. And that's amazing. I'm sure everybody is going to be impressed by this initiative. I know you're not doing it for glory, but nonetheless, it's very commendable. And what is interesting to me is that Western mindset of using medicine in the first place, the fact that thinking that medicine is what's going to heal them and also that more is better, that is very interesting that actually filtered through all the way to those tribes and tribal people who not so long ago, I'm sure wouldn't have used any pills whatsoever.
Right, and their herbs are being forgotten, right? And that's why I want to start working with the herbalists to rescue that knowledge and bring it back into communities as soon as possible.
It's crazy because all those South American, Asian, and African herbs are making their way into the Western way of working, not necessarily Western conventional medicine, but in terms of naturopathic
Absolutely.
Western medicine.
Absolutely.
And yet they are sort of losing themselves. So I can see why you want to recover that. But let's backtrack for a moment, because you did mention that obviously with homeopathy, it's not necessarily about giving ton of the active substance. It's not how homeopathy works. And most people will probably have some idea on homeopathy works, but actually just summarize how it works, just in case people may still be a little confused about it.
It's one of my favorite subjects. So homeopathy is based on the law of similars. And what does that mean? Like cures like. So if I cut an onion in front of your nose, you'll likely have a runny nose and tearing eyes, yeah? And so the philosophy of homeopathy is that if I give you a large amount of one substance, like the toxic dose of it, like a cut onion, later on in life, if you have symptoms that resemble taking a toxic dose of anything, so let's say you come with an allergy, with runny nose and watering eyes, I'm oversimplifying, then if I give you a very diluted form of the onion, the homeopathic form, so diluted multiple times, so it's just the energy of the original substance, of the original onion, then that diluted form will cure the symptoms that the toxic amount would create in a person. So typically also, for example, if you take the poison arsenicum, you'll get a lot of diarrhea and vomiting. So a common remedy for food poisoning is homeopathic arsenicum album. Yeah, so the diluted form for food poisoning. So vomiting and diarrhea can come from food poisoning, can come from different factors, but the picture resembles that of the toxicity of arsenic. Yeah, so you take the diluted form, and the diluted form has the energy that matches the picture of the toxic form, so it can cure food poisoning.
Yeah, that's an excellent example. Yeah, thank you for explaining that. And just to add that homeopathy is a form of energy medicine, really, much like in another session, we talking about infoceuticals and sort of information medicine. It really falls into the category of information medicine. It's not so much about the active substance. The same, you could say, very, very similar to flower remedies, for instance. It's a slightly different concept with flower remedies, but again, similar. It's not really so much about the active substance, but it is the energetic imprint, really, that's going to, if you like, just stimulate the immune system enough, or the body enough, to create the right reaction and the healing response, the right healing response.
Exactly. It's based on the essence of a remedy, so the vibrational frequency, right? Because our body, everything is frequency, everything is energy, right? And we're just condensed vibrating molecules. And when you are in a diseased state, your frequency, your vibration changes. And so we need to find a remedy that matches that changed frequency. And homeopathy is amazing for that, because there's thousands of remedies available, so you can really narrow down a unique disease state or a unique disease frequency in a remedy. Meaning, so let's say you have asthma, and there's thousands of remedies for asthma. So I will understand what's the unique picture of your asthma, and I'll find a remedy that matches that unique picture. So your unique picture might be your asthma is worse at 4 in the morning rather than 8 in the morning. Or your asthma is better drinking hot water versus somebody else's asthma gets better drinking cold water, right? And so the cold water asthma has a different remedy, and the warm water asthma has a different remedy. And that's why homeopathy is amazing, because you can really individualize the treatment, right? And get a deeper cure.
And it's actually part of the reason why it doesn't lend itself very well to research studies as Western medicine likes to do them. It's because of that. It's because it's highly individualized. So then, of course, the conventional medicine will come along and say, oh, this is all stuff that is unproven, or it doesn't work, or whatever. But the actual fact is there are a lot of natural therapies and things that we know work beautifully, but they don't necessarily lend themselves very well to placebo-controlled, double-blind studies and things like that.
Exactly. Yeah. It's hard to do double-blind studies with homeopathy because each person in your case study needs an individual remedy. But the good news is WHO, World Health Organization, recognizes it as therapeutic science, therapeutic medicine. And I would say like probably 80% of the population in India are using homeopathy. It originated in Germany, and Germany is widespread. In Europe, you can buy homeopathic pills in a pharmacy, right? So it's widely accepted and it's gaining popularity and it's treating the root cause. It's excellent for children. It's super safe. So yeah, let's just support the movement.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you mentioned that you use it on your communities in Africa. And I know that you would use homeopathy for instance, for shock and trauma. And that
Mhm.
also relates to the vagus nerve. So tell us a little bit more about that particular aspect of using homeopathy.
Homeopathy is amazing, amazing for shock and trauma. In fact, it goes deeper than psychotherapy in so many ways because there's individual remedies for different types of trauma. Yeah. So if somebody is being sexually abused, for example, a selection of 5 or 6 remedies that can help somebody who has been sexually abused, right? Versus me spending an hour once a week with the client for 3 or 5 weeks working on the different layers of the trauma. When I combine it with homeopathy, the homeopathy goes deeper to help the person release the energetic tension in their body, right? So we have remedies for grief from loss of a loved one. Yeah, if somebody dies. Then Ignatia is a homeopathic remedy I use often for breakups, somebody who has been betrayed and is feeling very tearful and anxious. Versus Natrum muriaticum is another beautiful homeopathic remedy I use for grief when somebody has lost a loved one, especially related to missing your mom or losing a parent, or even also going through a breakup where there's less anxiety but more withdrawal, right? So homeopathy is beautiful in that way. It really understands the unique characters of a person. Aurum metallicum, great remedy for somebody who has gone through a serious loss and is having suicidal thoughts from shame and guilt, right? So I'll understand the uniqueness of the trauma and the uniqueness of the presenting symptoms and match that to the homeopathic remedy, right? And my online course goes through all these different remedies and different shocks. And there's a book called The Repertory, which homeopaths use, that people can look through and say, okay, if somebody has been betrayed, what are the different remedies? So then I look at the different remedies and say, okay, which of these remedies most closely matches the person's symptoms, yeah, in that category, and I'll give it, right? So, and the beauty of homeopathy is that you can actually heal old shock and trauma from the past. So let's say somebody comes in with stomach cramps and ulcers and things like that, yeah? Rather than give a homeopathic remedy for stomach cramps and ulcers, I'll say, okay, when did this start? And if it started after a betrayal, and I see this all the time in my clinic, honestly, even last week I had a case like this. They'll say, oh, after I was betrayed or after I had this fight or something like that, I'll give them the remedy for the conflict. And boom, the physical symptoms disappear because it started with an emotional shock. And we know that's possible because of the connection of emotions to the vagus nerve to the different organs in the body, yeah?
Yeah, that's excellent. These are really great examples. And it just one more time emphasizes how, yes, there could be issues at the physical level. Maybe there's some toxicity, maybe there's digestion insufficiency or problems with digestive sequencing or whatever. But that emotional trauma can actually push somebody over the edge and they will start manifesting that illness, and that happens so often. So that's very interesting. Thank you for sharing that. Have you got any other examples?
If somebody's going through a lot of stress in the present time, right? So remember, there's emotional shock and trauma that stays in the limbic brain and then exhausts the adrenal system, right? And there's also present day stress as well, right? That exhausts the nervous system as well and creates irritability in somebody. A typical example, then I'll use something called nux vomica, which is great for present day stress, a lot of stress and causing irritability and constipation. So I'll look at both the mental picture and the physical picture. If somebody has burnout, adrenal burnout, like 3 or 4 different remedies that I use based on their unique symptoms, whether they have a dullness in mind or they're more anxious from their burnout. And I'll also ask them, do they have erectile difficulties? Right? If they have poor erections after a burnout period or grief and stress, then I'll use a different remedy. I had a lady who used to have vaginal spasms after her partner shouted at her, and it was a surprise for her, shock, right? And I tried remedies, homeopathic remedies, to help balance hormones and heal vaginal spasms. But when I gave her a remedy for the shock, boom, it was done in one session.
Yeah, and I hope that people watching this, if they haven't before, then they're really starting to connect the dots, how different a result you can have when you actually consider the body and mind as one system rather than try and separate it and just look at the biochemistry, for instance.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So you mentioned adrenal fatigue. That's great because obviously that's a very common complaint in a lot of people with chronic illness. I mean, it can be at the source of it or it could be a resulting symptom, but either way, a lot of people suffering with chronic illness will have this problem. And what about the gut, liver, and adrenal connection? Because obviously that also relates to the vagus nerve, and it affects it, and it's affected by the vagus nerve. So can you talk a little bit more about that relationship?
So this might be repetitive, some of you, I apologize. You have the gut, which has a nice lining, kept healthy by good bacteria and good food. With antibiotics, poor diet, etc., the gut gets damaged, you get leaky gut, you get holes in the intestines, toxins go all over the body, creates systemic inflammation, leading cause of chronic disease, right? And irritation to the vagus nerve. All these toxins go to the liver gets bunged up, produces less bile, you get more gas, bloating, constipation, indigestion, and a worsening of leaky gut. And that causes chronic inflammation again. The systemic inflammation stresses your adrenal glands, right, to produce cortisol. So your adrenal glands go into burnout, both from inflammation and from emotional stress you're going through in life, and from history of trauma. So these are the fundamental systems to heal. Emotional trauma, right, stress, as well as the gut, liver, adrenal system connection. When you heal all these, then the body resolves many chronic diseases, including hormonal balances and headaches and things. So I will pick the right homeopathic remedy depending on what system I feel needs support. So in my online course, I talk about a lot of liver remedies. One great example is lycopodium. I love lycopodium for the liver because it helps the gallbladder stimulate bile, like release bile, more bile into the intestine. Most people have a stagnant gallbladder. Nux vomica is also excellent for stimulating bile flow, especially from the liver. It helps detox the liver, right? Because if you just heal the gut, you only do probiotics all the time and you change your diet without correcting your liver, you'll get 50% of improvement, not the full improvement, right? So even if I give herbs for the liver, I'll always give a homeopathic remedy also for the liver because homeopathy goes much deeper into the liver. So now if the adrenal glands are wiped out, I'll give burnout remedies. Those are typically like the acid remedies in homeopathy. You got phosphoric acid, fluoric acid, muric acid, all these different ones, yeah? And these really help somebody recover from burnout while I'm also giving them herbs to nourish the adrenal system. Because remember, if somebody's burnt out and they have this messaging from their subconscious, that's a fight or flight response, even if you keep on giving them herbs, the messaging still goes on and keeps you in a locked state of fear, right? So when you take homeopathy, it actually undoes the stress response. So you come out of that fight or flight and the herbs work much faster and you don't deplete the herbs. Do you know what I mean? Like if you don't resolve the stress, you just take the herbs and you deplete the herbs. But if you resolve the stress, then the herbs become more nourishing. You need less herbs over time and you recover faster.
Yeah, because ultimately what you're doing is you can look at it as you treating the symptoms, but without addressing the cause, because all you're doing is throwing herbs at a liver that is compromised, but then you're not really addressing anything more underlying. So what you're saying is that with homeopathy, we can go deeper in that sense and address
Absolutely.
the underlying autonomic nervous system dysregulation, and through that we actually making the body more receptive and responsive to whatever else we're going to give it, whether it's on the food level or herbal supplements or whatever.
Absolutely. The deeper you go energetically, the more transformative the therapy is, right? Otherwise, if you're just taking the physical substances like supplements and herbs and stuff, yes, you will get some long-term cure and sometimes permanent cure. But for a lot of people, they remain dependent on supplements because they're not shifting the vibrational frequency or the energetics of their state of being.
Yes, absolutely. It makes perfect sense. I wanted to ask you, when people want to use some of those remedies themselves, what is your opinion on this? Is this something that you would say it is okay for people to just go and look this up and perhaps try and self-remedy? Or would you say that this is something that needs to be worked on with a practitioner?
I much prefer people go to a naturopathic doctor or a homeopath, right? Because it's hard to be objective when you're treating yourself, one. Number two, a practitioner, a well-trained practitioner will understand the root cause, right? So like if you have headaches, for example, migraines, it could be due to blood pressure issues, it could be a muscular issue, it could be a progesterone issue, right? Or it could be a food sensitivity. And a good naturopathic doctor can help distinguish what it is, right? And really treat the root cause. And then you might be biased in your own emotional state. You might not know that there's an emotional cause to your state. And a clean, observant therapist can hold the space to allow you to go into vulnerable places that you might not be able to do if you're treating yourself. And those vulnerable places that you visit with a good practitioner help the practitioner determine what the actual trauma is, what the belief system you have is, and therefore select a better remedy for you. The problem with self-diagnosing is you might take the wrong remedy. One, you'll get disappointed and say homeopathy doesn't work, or you might mask symptoms and not really treat the root cause.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I hear what you're saying, and I would definitely echo that, because we were talking about going deeper with this, and to go into your own emotional experience and process that, you need to be subjective and connect with that. But at the same time, in order to help yourself, you need to be objective and step out of it. Now, it's not possible to be both at the same time, and this is why having that other person who is well trained to point you in the right direction and also perhaps uncover some of the things that you're not seeing because it's your blind spots, that will mean that you can go much deeper, because you will go after that root cause rather than treat the symptoms. And that obviously is what this whole thing is about.
Absolutely. There's a famous saying, I don't know how it goes, but it's something like, you cannot cure a problem with the same mind that created it, or something like that. You know what I mean? So it's hard to treat your own mind because you're observing with the problematic picture.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I love that quote. That's really great. This is really fantastic and really helpful. Is there anything else that you want to add to what we've already said? Any other advice or words of wisdom?
So we've covered adrenal, gut, liver connection. There's free videos if people want to watch on my website, right, to summarize this whole thing. There's the homeopathy for healing the emotional stress and trauma. Then I always combine, of course, homeopathy with supplements, yeah, for a lot of people. So I'll heal the gut with the probiotics, the vitamin D, etc., and then heal the liver with some herbs and support the adrenal glands with some herbs as well, because you got to nourish the body with some herbs as well while you're shifting the energetics. Really, that's it. And then the word love comes to mind. I'm reading A Course in Miracles right now. I'm trying to study it to learn how to do therapy through the Course in Miracles. And really, self-love is very present in my mind, working on self-love and forgiveness and letting go of attachments. I believe this frees up energy so that you can have more energy for healing. And then I also practice family constellations, and I love people to look at that because there's so many emotional entanglements we have with our ancestors, right, and family members, that I'm finding family constellation therapy it goes beyond normal psychotherapy, and it's helping me in my practice so much right? People are needing less therapy. It's going so deep and so far into the root cause beyond what conventional psychotherapy can do.
Thank you so much for sharing all this. And that's a really great tip as well. And of course, a lot of the work that you do and resources that you produce, those proceeds, a lot of those proceeds go towards your charity. So why don't you take this opportunity and just say a few words about your charity, just in case people want to help you support this cause?
Okay, so my goal is to sell 1 million copies of my book. If you know any publisher from Random House, Hay House, etc., or Oprah, please pass on my book, because I'm doing a lot of private practice in the city and it's burning me out. And I want more time to do my community work and discover the herbs and stuff, right? But I don't like fundraising too much. So the way I fundraise is people buy the book and the online course so that they get something in exchange for giving me support, right? I like doing that way. It's more of a fair exchange that way. So the more books you get or the more promotion you can do for me to a publishing company, I'd really appreciate it. Yeah, and what comes up for me is just supporting these communities so we can gather their knowledge again before it disappears. I know everyone assumes that the communities use holistic medicine. They don't, right? They're overusing sugar, they're overusing antibiotics, yeah? So we really need to protect them from this onslaught of mismanagement of health before it gets too late. And I'm lucky enough to study naturopathic medicine and live in Kenya, so hopefully I can make an impact when the time is right.
Brilliant. It's been such a pleasure to talk to you, Ameet, and have you on this summit. And thank you so much again for everything that you've contributed to this event.
Thank you very much as well, Eva, and blessings to everyone. Lots of love.
Thanks for listening. Remember, you can go deeper in your healing with amazing remedies and therapies covered in your free online course and ebook on drameet.com. That's drameet.com. Lots of love and thank you. God bless.